In 1940, the Japanese Ministry of Finance decided to build a new office building in central Tokyo. The location seemed perfect. Prime real estate, close to the imperial palace, modern infrastructure. But there was one problem. A small shrine stood on that land, an ancient burial ground that locals avoided after dark. They said it was cursed, that anyone who disturbed it would die. The government didn't listen. They had progress to worry about, not superstitions from the past. Construction began immediately. Within weeks, the first worker died, then another. Then the Minister of Finance himself collapsed at his desk. No explanation, no warning, just sudden death. 14 people connected to the project were dead. This is the story of Taira no Masakado, a samurai who died over 1,000 years ago, a warrior whose severed head refused to rot, a spirit whose curse has killed dozens of people across 10 centuries. And the terrifying part? His shrine still stands in Tokyo today, in 2025, surrounded by skyscrapers and millions of people. Because no one, not the government, not corporations, not time itself, dares to touch it. Let's go back to where it all began. Japan, 940 AD, the Heian period, when one man's rebellion would create Japan's most feared ghost that in the 10th century. During the Heian period, Japan was ruled by the imperial court in Kyoto. But far to the east, in the Kanto region, what would become modern Tokyo, power worked differently. Local warlords controlled vast territories. Samurai clans fought bitter wars for land, honor, and survival. Taira no Masakado was born into this violent world around 903 AD. He was a member of the powerful Taira clan, descended from Emperor Kanmu himself. Imperial blood ran in his veins. He inherited land in Shimosa province, in the heart of the Kanto region. In his youth, Masakado served in the imperial palace guard in Kyoto. He saw the corruption of the nobles, the weakness of the court, the distance between the glittering capital and the harsh reality of the eastern provinces where real warriors fought and died. When he returned to his homeland, he found his family embroiled in a land dispute. His uncles wanted his territory. What started as a family conflict exploded into open warfare. In 935, Masakado killed his uncle Taira no Kunika in battle. There was no going back. He fought. He won. His territory expanded. Local samurai flocked to his banner. They saw in him something the distant emperor in Kyoto lacked: strength, leadership, the will to fight for what was his. And slowly, a dangerous idea formed in Masakado's mind. The imperial court was weak, corrupt, irrelevant to the people living in the east. Why should they bow to nobles who'd never swung a sword, who'd never felt the bite of a Kanto winter, who ruled only because of bloodline, not ability? In 939, Masakado did something unthinkable. He declared himself Shino, the new emperor. Not a rebel, not a warlord, an emperor. He established his capital in Iwai, in Soma district of Shimosa province. He appointed officials. He created ministries modeled after the imperial court. He even gave his supporters titles and ranks, creating a complete shadow government. It was treason, a crime punishable by death and the annihilation of his entire bloodline. But for a brief, electric moment, it seemed possible. His army was strong. The eastern provinces rallied behind him. The imperial court, divided by internal politics, seemed powerless to stop him. The rebellion lasted less than a year. In 940, the imperial court finally assembled an army under the command of Fujiwara no Hidesado and Taira no Satomori, ironically Masakado's own cousin. They had numbers. They had the authority of the emperor behind them. And they had warriors eager to claim the bounty on the rebels' head. The final battle was fierce. Masakado fought with the desperation of a man who knew he was fighting for his life, for his dream of empire, for everything he'd built. An arrow struck him. Sources disagree on the exact moment. Some say it was a lucky shot. Others claim divine intervention. But the result was the same. Taira no Masakado, the self-proclaimed new emperor of the East, fell in the mud of a battlefield on March 25, 940. His rebellion was over. But his story was just beginning. In medieval Japan, there was a brutal tradition for dealing with traitors and rebels. You didn't just kill them. You made an example. You cut off their head, preserved it, and sent it to the capital for public display. A warning carved in flesh and bone to anyone who might dare challenge imperial authority. Masakado's head was severed from his body on the battlefield. It was placed in a preservation box with salt and sent on the long journey to Kyoto. Several days of travel through mountains and valleys. carried by soldiers who whispered nervously about the dead rebels' fury. When they opened the box in Kyoto, court officials noticed something disturbing. The head hadn't decayed at all. Days had passed, in the heat, in a wooden box, with minimal preservation. By all natural law, by every expectation of death and decomposition, the flesh should have been rotting. The skin should have been turning black. The smell should have been unbearable. But Masakado's head looked almost fresh. The eyes were clear, as if still watching. The skin was intact, the expression frozen in what some described as defiant rage, as if he'd died minutes ago, not days. Court officials were deeply disturbed. This wasn't natural. This violated the order of things. But orders were orders. They mounted the head on a stake in Kyoto's main plaza, a public square where thousands would pass daily. A display of power, a demonstration of what happened to rebels. Then the legends began. People claimed that at night, the head's eyes would open, that it would glare at passers-by with burning hatred, that you could hear it grinding its teeth in rage, even though the jaw was bound shut with wire. Witnesses, and this was recorded in historical chronicles like the Shomanki, the Chronicle of Masakado, claimed the head would whisper curses against those who betrayed him, threats against the imperial court, promises of vengeance that made guards refuse to stand watch alone. The most famous account comes from a document written just years after his death. It states that 3 months after the head was displayed, it suddenly laughed out loud. Not a gentle sound, a roaring, terrible laugh that echoed through the plaza and sent dozens of witnesses fleeing in terror. And then came the most legendary event of all. According to multiple historical accounts and folk traditions, one night the head began to glow with an eerie light. Witnesses said it rose from the stake. Slowly at first, then faster, ascending into the night sky. The head flew east, back toward Masakado's homeland, back toward the Kanto region where he'd declared himself emperor. It flew for days, they said, across mountains, over rivers, through rain and wind, driven by rage, by unfinished business, by a refusal to accept death. Finally exhausted, if a severed head can be exhausted, it fell from the sky and landed with a crash in a small fishing village called Shibasaki, right in the middle of what is now Tokyo's Otemachi financial district, one of the most expensive pieces of real estate on Earth. The villagers were terrified. This wasn't just a body part. This was a relic of rebellion, a fragment of defiance against the emperor himself. To possess it was dangerous. To destroy it might be worse. So they did the only thing that made sense. They buried it with full honors. They performed Shinto purification rituals. They built a small mound over the burial site, a marker, a warning, a memorial to the warrior who wouldn't stay dead. That mound, that burial site, still exists today, over 1,000 years later, in the heart of modern Tokyo. And according to everyone who has studied Masakado's curse, that's where the real horror began. For centuries after Masakado's death, the burial site was treated with cautious respect. There were stories, of course, local legends about strange lights appearing over the mound at night, about people who ventured too close and fell mysteriously ill, about construction projects that failed when they encroached on the shrine. In the 14th century, a plague swept through the region. People blamed Masakado's vengeful spirit. They built a larger shrine to appease him. In the 16th century, during the Warring States period, warlords made offerings at the shrine before battles. Better to have Masakado's spirit on your side than against you. But these were isolated incidents, superstitions, nothing that challenged the rational order of things. Until 1923. That year, the Great Kanto earthquake devastated Tokyo. Over 140,000 people died. The city was reduced to rubble and ash. In the massive rebuilding effort that followed, someone in the new government made a decision that would prove fatal. The Masakado Shrine, they decided, was in the way of modern Tokyo. It occupied valuable land needed for reconstruction. It represented old superstitions that had no place in a modernizing Japan. Workers began to dismantle the shrine, to clear the area for new construction. Within days, workers started dying. Construction accidents, falls from scaffolding, sudden collapses. Nothing that could be definitively linked to the shrine, at first. But the pattern was impossible to ignore. Then workers who hadn't been injured on site started dying at home. Heart attacks, strokes, mysterious illnesses that doctors couldn't diagnose or treat. The project was hastily abandoned. The shrine was rebuilt. Money was donated for its maintenance. And the deaths stopped. But that was just a warning. In 1940, the Ministry of Finance decided to build their new headquarters. The location was perfect: central Tokyo, close to government buildings, excellent transportation. The fact that Masakado's shrine occupied part of the planned site was seen as a minor inconvenience. They were wrong. Construction began with great fanfare. Modern equipment, experienced workers, government backing. Everything seemed fine for the first week. Then a foreman named Yamamoto collapsed while inspecting the site, dead before the ambulance arrived. Heart attack, the doctors said. Unusual for a man in his 30s with no prior health issues, but not impossible. Then a government architect, then a construction worker, then another, and another. One victim stands out in the records. His name was Tanaka Hiroshi. He was 28 years old, recently married. His wife, Tanaka Akiko, gave testimony to investigators that was later documented in government files. Hiroshi had been excited about the project. It was prestigious work, good pay, a chance to make his mark on Tokyo's skyline. But 3 days after starting work, he came home pale and shaking. He told Akiko he'd seen something near the shrine. Shadows moving when no one was there. A feeling of being watched by invisible eyes. A cold that seeped into his bones even on warm days. She told him to request a transfer. He refused. He didn't want to seem superstitious. Weak. 2 days later, he woke up screaming. He told her someone was sitting on his chest. Someone he couldn't see. Someone pressing down, crushing the air from his lungs. The next morning, he died at the breakfast table. Simply stopped breathing. Doctors found nothing wrong. His heart, his lungs, his brain, all perfectly healthy. Except he was dead. Akiko never remarried. She visited Masakado's shrine every year until her own death in 1986, making offerings and apologizing for her husband's role in the construction project. The deaths continued. By the time construction was halted, 14 people connected to the project were dead. The Minister of Finance himself, a man named Junisuke Inoue, collapsed at his desk. He survived, but resigned days later, visibly shaken. The Japanese government, despite its commitment to modernization and scientific rationality, did something extraordinary. They ordered construction stopped immediately. They called in Shinto priests to perform elaborate purification rituals. They officially designated the shrine as protected sacred ground that could never be moved or demolished. And the death stopped. But the curse wasn't finished. In 1945, after World War II ended, American occupation forces surveyed Tokyo for potential headquarters. The Masakado shrine site came up in discussions. It was centrally located, well-positioned, perfect for military administration. Japanese officials warned them. Carefully, diplomatically, they explained the history. The Americans, pragmatic and skeptical, prepared to move forward anyway. Then one of their surveyors died in a car accident on the way to the site. Another fell seriously ill with a mysterious fever. General Douglas MacArthur himself is said to have been briefed on the situation. He made a decision that surprised many. The shrine would remain untouched. Whether he believed in curses or simply recognized the political wisdom of respecting local traditions is unclear. The site was never touched. In the 1960s, a major construction company tried to build near the shrine. Heavy machinery broke down repeatedly. Electrical systems failed without explanation. Workers refused to continue after a series of minor injuries that seemed too frequent to be coincidence. In the 1980s, a bank wanted to expand onto the land. The project was announced with great fanfare. 2 weeks later, the CEO died of a sudden heart attack. The bank's board immediately canceled the expansion. The pattern held. Every single time someone tried to disturb Masakado's resting place, something happened. Death, illness, failure, disaster. Every single time. Today in 2025, Masakado's Kubizuka, head mound, still stands in Tokyo's Otemachi district. A tiny plot of land surrounded by some of the most expensive real estate in the world. Massive office buildings loom over it, all of them built carefully around this shrine. All paying premium rent for layouts designed to avoid the cursed ground. Modern Japanese businessmen treat this shrine with absolute seriousness. They bow when they pass it. They make offerings. They warn new employees about the curse. Not as tradition, as a legitimate safety concern. The shrine is maintained by volunteers from nearby companies. Shinto priests visit regularly. Companies donate substantial sums for its upkeep. It's officially protected as cultural property by the Tokyo government. You can visit it right now. There's a stone monument, fresh flowers, bottles of sake, an information plaque explaining the history. And if you go there, you'll notice something. The atmosphere feels different. Even surrounded by traffic, millions of people, that small plot feels quiet, heavy, ancient. People who work nearby share stories about electrical equipment that malfunctions near the shrine, about computers that crash when positioned facing it, about photographs that come out blurred. Modern skeptics try to explain it away. Mass psychology, coincidence, cultural belief creating reality. But the bodies in the ground say otherwise. The construction projects that failed, the companies that went bankrupt, the documented deaths that coroners couldn't explain. In practical terms, Taira no Masakado still rules that ground. Absolutely. 1,000 years after his death, over 1,000 years ago, a samurai named Taira no Masakado tried to become emperor. He raised an army. He conquered provinces. He declared himself the new emperor of an independent eastern realm. He failed. He died. His head was severed and sent to the capital as a trophy. But according to legend, and according to 14 documented deaths in 1940 alone, and according to countless incidents across 10 centuries, Masakado never really left. Today, in central Tokyo, businessmen in expensive suits bow to a tiny shrine before entering their offices. Tourists photograph it with nervous respect. Construction companies add millions of yen to budgets to build around, never through, that cursed ground. Real estate developers call it the most expensive vacant lot in Tokyo. Because the land isn't vacant. It's occupied by a spirit who's been there for 1,000 years. By a curse that's killed dozens. By a defiance that outlasted empires. Taira no Masakado wanted to be emperor. He failed in life, but in death, he rules that plot of land absolutely. No government can evict him. No corporation can buy him out. No amount of money, power, or time can make him leave. After 1,000 years, after countless warnings, after bodies in the ground and terror in the hearts of those who forgot, Tokyo has finally learned. Some ground is not for sale. Some spirits don't forgive. And some curses never end. The next time you visit Tokyo, you might walk past that shrine. Surrounded by skyscrapers. Surrounded by progress. Surrounded by 1,000 years of refusal. And if you're smart, you'll bow as you pass. Because Taira no Masakado is still watching. Still waiting. Still defying everyone and everything. And he always will be.